the Midwest meets in Manchester. I'm originally from Cleveland, so we are the Midwesterners in Manchester.
That's right. That's right.
And, wow, 88 Fingers Louie, you guys have been around since the 90s.
On and off, yeah. On and off since 93, so what is that, 26 years this year?
Your math is better in your head than mine, because...
Pulled that one out of nowhere.
And as you say, on and off. What brought you back together and really have you so strong out there on stage now?
Oh, thank you. No, we realized near the end of 2013 that year was our 20th anniversary as a band. So we decided near the end of the year to commemorate that with a local show. And we actually brought Joe back, who's now in Rise Against. And that show went great. And I think a few of us kind of knew in the back of our head that there's going to be more stuff being offered to us. And when we realized how extensive that was going to be, we basically told Joe, like, we want to keep doing this. Will you be able to find the time? And he's like, Rise Against eats up so much of my time that when I'm not doing Rise Against, I've got to be home with my family. So with his blessing, we carried on with our friend Nat, who's been playing with us ever since. And ironically, this now 5 going on 6 years stint has been the longest we've been actually together in one.
As a single lineup, I should say.
Incarnation. Yeah. So, and it's been fun. You know, we did the first couple years, so 2014 and 2015. It was just a matter of us getting out there, playing songs, hitting as much as we could in the States, areas that we hadn't played in forever, and really just speaking for myself, after a couple years of doing that, I was starting to get a little itchy, like, okay, we could keep playing the old songs, but it's going to get boring. We got to spice it up, and I don't think at the time I thought we had another album in us, but I said, you know, let's write a couple new songs and see what happens. So we would do that, and we'd put those into the set, and that seemed to go over well as much as our older stuff. So 2020, I guess 16, maybe middle of that year, we made a concerted effort to write what became Thank You for Being a Friend.
Which is an excellent album.
Thank you.
In fact, I am absolutely horrible with names of things. I will forget things like that, but I did write down. I'm just going to say, your song Advice Column, the lyrics to that, and I had to write it down because I do get a little, so many things in the head. Where did that come about? How did that happen? Because it really spoke to me, and I think it probably speaks to a lot of people.
We've got a lot of really good feedback on it, and that was the first song we wrote as a band getting back together, and I just remember being really nervous, like, okay, the other guys in the band were doing music more or less on a constant basis, and I would take like three or 4 years off and tell myself I don't have time to do a band, or I'm retiring, and, you know, all that crap. So that was the first set of lyrics I brought to the band, and it's basically, you know, it's written from a standpoint of being proud of what you did in the past, but don't rely on that. You've got to move forward, embrace your history, but at the same time, acknowledge that there's a whole new world out there. You know, from a musical standpoint, there's a whole new world out there that we were realizing that as many old school fans that were coming to the shows, they were, you know, grown, having, you know, teenage kids going to the shows that had a chance to see us, and it kind of took on that role, and also kind of from a, I don't want to say a catty, but Chicago can get kind of snippy, and people will praise you for your success, but at the same time say, oh, you guys are clearly back together for one reason only, and
You're only there for the money,
right.
which is bullshit.
Because, you know, we made millions of dollars before. Why not make millions of dollars now? Yeah, no.
Music was millions.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. So I guess really it's about keeping one foot in the past, but acknowledging that you can't stay focused on that. You've got to move. You got to move ahead.
Do you think, in music in general, not any specific genre, that people do remain too far rooted in the past and don't move on, and don't adapt themselves to current day?
I see it from time to time. Some bands that we're really, really good friends with, unfortunately, I see that they're not given a chance to grow as a band. They feel like, okay, we took this detour, to this song, and for whatever reason, it's a case of a band that was known to play nothing but fast songs, and maybe there's a little bit of us in that too, where you're just known as playing fast songs. You write a new song, and guess what? It's slower because we're or the other band in question are 20, 25 years older, and tastes change. We're not ignoring the music that you put out before, but you kind of have to you have to do some growth musically. And there's people out there that, unfortunately, if it's not fast and hard, it's apparently that's not punk rock.
Yeah, or if it's not this, it's not punk rock, or it's not that. Yeah, and it is a problem, and I wish more people would think like you, to be honest.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's kind of like death and taxes. It's inevitable that there's going to be people. I mean, I remember looking at some of the comments when we first announced a new record with the video for Advice Column. Everyone's like, there's a few. I shouldn't say everybody. There was a few people that were making comments like, "Well, this isn't fast enough at all. Like, I can't mosh to this," and we're not.
That was my initial attraction of the song. Like, oh, that's different.
Yeah.
And then I started listening to the lyrics of it, and I was like, oh, okay. But it's what caught my ear about it, because it was different. It wasn't the fast stuff. It was a progression, as you said.
And that's what we wanted to do when we were writing the songs for the new album. It's kind of taking our own advice in Advice Column. Hey, we have songs in this that are going to sound like old '88 songs, but we're 20 whatever years older. I don't eat, sleep, and breathe fast punk rock songs. I've got I'm a child of a Beatlemaniac. I want. If it was up to me, everything would be super melodic and super sing-songy. It'd be the Beach Boys mixed with Bad Religion if it was up to me. But I'm one of 4 people.
That would be an interesting combination, though. It might work. You can have another band, a side project.
There you go. The Dennis Buckley Project.
There you go. That's it. Yeah, absolutely. You've earned that right now. Been in the business long enough, you can name one after you.
Why not?
You
we were talking before the camera started rolling how you guys got going.
Yes.
And we interviewed one of the other Chicago punk bands that is fairly well known, the Boll Weevils, who met at a Naked Ray Gun gig.
Yes.
And you...
And I met the guys in 88 Fingers Louie at a Boll Weevils gig. I came home from college and immediately was I was immediately brought out to a show at the Chicago suburbs. And I met the guys in the Boll Weevils and didn't realize they were playing. If my memory serves me correct, I think they were just all kind of just grouped together, and then 10 or 15 minutes after meeting them, they all make their way onto the stage, and I was blown away, and just I fell in love with the music immediately, and it was probably 6 to 8 months later. I was introduced to the guys that would eventually become 88 Fingers Louie. Just a lot of mutual friends that way. And when I tried out for the band, two of the Boll Weevils guys had come out to show support, which was great. And then when I got the gig, immediately they're like, "Okay, it looks like we've got a." I don't know if we came up with how long it took us to come up with the name, but basically it was like, okay, well, looks like you guys are going to be playing the next couple of Boll Weevil shows, and we were totally on board with that. We got to do split records with them over the years, and our first tour was with those guys. I love that in 2019 we're as stoked that the Boll Weevils are back together as they are that we're doing shows, and it's been a real treat to know that 25 years later, we're both still at it.
Everybody's still going with it. And what do you think? The Midwest is kind of the forgotten part of America in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
How do you think that's impacted your local scene?
It's definitely. I won't say it's caused fractures, but it's been where Chicago is kind of rooted in punk rock, because we were kind of forgotten by the New York scene or the Southern California scene. It kind of caused people that were normally dyed-in-the-wool punk rock to kind of experiment. It was, and I attribute a lot of that to hometown hero Steve Albini. With Big Black and the bands that he's done and the records that he's engineered since then. The straight ahead punk rock kind of morphed into more of a aggressive post punk, for lack of a better word. So that kind of scene grew out of, I think, just people getting tired of not getting enough musical attention here. Yeah.
What's next for you guys?
A few more shows. We were confirming. We had a 8-hour flight here, so we had a lot of time to talk. So we kind of went over everybody's calendars with work and school and whatever, and we got some more shows lined up in the States and up in Canada, and then we're going to block out some time, probably near the end of the year, to kick back into songwriting mode, and with any luck, we'll have at the very least an EP out by early next year.
By the end of
by end of this year, early 2020,
okay.
We'll have at the very least an EP out with a full length to follow. Everyone's on the same page, and at that point, it'll be 3 years since the last record. So
it's a right amount of time.
Yeah.
So those creative juices are now brewing in all of your heads and trying to come up with new songs.
Yeah,
so.
I actually started working on lyrics a few weeks ago. We had a couple songs that we all kind of heard, recordings of, and the blessing / curse of the band in its schedule now is the minute we think we're going to have time to start working on new songs, we get an offer to do some tours, and then we just state, okay, we can't work on songwriting, we've got to rehearse for, to go on tour or whatever. So, but we're going to, I would say probably in the fall, we're going to finally knock down some time and say, unless they make us an offer we can't refuse, we're going to spend a good solid month plus to just work out as much new songs. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to hearing them. And I want to thank you very much for taking the time right after getting off the stage to speak with us at Manchester Punk Festival. We appreciate it. And
Thank you very much for having me.
thank you.